Welcome to Studio 125 Multimedia Complex, where our mission is to provide a safe, positive platform for the community to share their life journey. Today I sit here with Mr. Kenny Howard. How you doing, brother?
Can't complain. How you doing today?
I'm all right, man. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, the pleasure's all mine. Trust me.
All right. Well, let's start out by talking about where you from originally.
I am originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born and raised down there. Back in, of course, I'm a '70s baby. 1973. South Florida, Florida boy.
Oh, Florida boy.
Most definitely.
All right. Well, let's talk about your upbringing. Let's start out, Mr. Howard, as a young man. What was your household like? Did you grow up in a two-parent household?
I did with my mother and my father. My father was a teacher. Actually, he taught for like 37 years before he retired, and he also worked with the airlines. And my mother, she worked in healthcare for many, many years. So,
Okay. So let's talk about some of your passions. Used to love football as a kid.
and still do.
Still do.
If I could get out there now, I would play, but that'd be kind of ludicrous right now. But I wish I could play right now.
Them knees saying, stop it.
The knees and the birthdays tell a story. Really.
Right. Okay.
But besides football, I like to fish, which I haven't had much of a chance, much as I used to in Florida. But to being here in Georgia is different. But I enjoy fishing. And fishing, football. I've gotten more as I've gotten older. You know, I picked up other stuff I've seen. Man, I kind of enjoy doing that. You know,
Okay.
because being locked in. So I was fishing and football and other, but it was like now, okay, I'm getting older. Okay, well, I'm seeing other things in life. I'm starting to enjoy more. You know,
Okay.
it's not as physical. You know,
You also had a love for aviation.
I still do.
Where'd that come from?
My father used to work for the airlines,
Right.
and what he would do, he would take us. He was working for Eastern Airlines, and he would take us to my brother and I to the hangar,
Mm-hmm.
and we would just seeing the planes, and I mean, I just fell in love with the field of aviation, everything around it. So even now, I feel myself still trying to pursue, aviation,
Okay.
trying to get my pilot's license.
Okay.
I'm going to get my pilot's license.
How'd that go?
Slow process. COVID kind of slowed things down somewhat,
Okay.
but I got to get back in the saddle because they're not going to just give it to me,
Damn sure ain't.
really. So I got to go out and get it.
Yeah, man. Wish you all the best in that.
Most definitely.
Fast forward to your teenage years, when you really started playing football.
Well, yeah, those were the years. And I look back now, and it almost seems like somewhat of a blur. It's like, wow, man, it's like it was so many years ago. And actually, we're talking about the '80s. Like early in the '80s, I did a lot of mine growing up in the '80s and the '90s, and it seemed like that was so long ago. But it kind of molded me to the person I am. I think everything in life, as you go along life, it kind of you never really stop growing. You never stop learning. So that was definitely some of those years of meeting people and the interaction with the coaches. And I had some good coaches and had some good friends. Still, as friends to this day, I have friends I've known for over 40 years.
Okay.
Right.
So in ninth grade, you went to Florida State and you went to a program.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about that.
Okay, and it's funny. When I went there, it was 1990, summer 1990. Went there for a enrichment program. It was it was mainly for just taking classes, but we also had interaction with the football players.
Right.
And one of the classes we were taking was a poetry class, and which I still write to this day. When it hits me, but we were scheduled. Everybody in class every Saturday, like in the Union area, they would students from all over Florida State would come down and read poetry, have poetry readings, and so I never recall. I never forget. I'm sorry. It was it was a nice day like this, and you could like a campus. I was on the other side of campus, and you could hear them on the microphone announcing people, such and such. They're coming to say what they had to say, so you could really hear it clear as a bell. 'Cause it was a nice day, and I never forget they called my name, Kenneth Howard. They called my name one more time, and I wasn't there. And it was funny. It was back then. It was funny. But then, as like kind of slowed down a little bit over the years, I was like, never again will that happen. That my name is a call and I'm not ready.
Hmm.
Because it was funny. It was, but yeah, I looked at it. It was a moment for me. It was a failure because that was my chance.
Right.
So I made it a point. The apostle never again will my name be called, and I'm not ready.
Right. I can understand that. You never know where that opportunity could have
So
took.
you got to be ready.
That's right.
You got to be ready.
That could have been the one.
That could exactly.
Right. All right. So you didn't pursue your football career, but you was pretty good at football, right?
I was.
He's one of the top students in your.
Yeah, I was. I was, but physically, but mentally, ain't worth a damn. If it's not up here,
Mm-hmm.
and even me, I didn't realize my potential. Well, it was till later on, but everybody else could see. It's like that sometimes. People can see the potential in you, but you can't see it in yourself.
That's right.
So it was years before I was like, what, I was pretty good.
Right.
Even despite coaches telling me, "Oh, you good," and now, yeah, but it wasn't up here.
That's right.
You say free your mind, your ass will fall. So that's how that goes.
Free your mind.
Yeah.
That's what the song should have said. In your ass will follow.
Really. That's true.
Okay. So you didn't finish high school.
Nope.
You ended up getting your GED shortly after.
I went to Job Corps, Miami Job Corps.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like with Job Corps?
Job Corps was, I don't know, it was good thing I went in there with a purpose. And my purpose was I needed to get my GED, and but everything else was just freestyle. I mean, we were already in South Miami,
Mm-hmm.
right by downtown Miami. And so it was like, after class hour, it was like, whatever. It was literally, it was like, they would actually take us, this is how loose they was. They would actually take us down on South Beach. Like, they call midnight walks on the beach every Friday. So they'll drop us off like at 11 o'clock, a van full of us, boys and girls, and go. They said, we'll be back at 2.
Wow.
So
Wow.
you can just
can
fill in the
only
blanks.
imagine.
Just fill in the
I can
blanks.
only imagine.
Really. So, yeah.
Teenagers, South Beach, and they're dropping you off at 11 p.m., picking you up at 2 a.m.?
Yeah.
It's a lot of babies made, I guarantee you that.
Yeah, a lot of children made. Yeah, really.
Okay. All right. After you got your GED with Job Corps,
Okay.
you attempted to go into the Navy.
I surely did. I went into, I wasn't really doing anything at the time. So I said, yeah, I said, well, let's try the Navy. And I was always thinking along the lines of aviation. Mm-hmm. So since I had a GED, the Air Force wouldn't take me. The Army wouldn't take me. Even the Marines wouldn't take me. I figured, hell, the Marines wouldn't take me, but the Navy said, we'll take you. And the funny thing about it, I actually had accumulated some college credits from Florida State.
Okay.
And so I had like 15 college credits, But that was enough. They said that was enough just to be able to get me in with the GED in the Navy. So I went in and went in for aviation maintenance.
Okay.
And so I got a basic training in Great Lakes, Illinois, right outside Chicago. And, I'm here. I'm finally on my way.
Mm-hmm.
It's of course anyway, they give you a urine test. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Pee in the cup, good. So I knew the jig was up when they called me again for a second. I was like, oh, hell. And they said, Mr. Howard, you got to go.
You end up failing the urine sample.
Yeah. I guess the other one was probably hot too, but they said we'll make sure. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess when the bottom of the cup fell out, I just said, yeah, it must really been hot.
Yeah.
So.
That's crazy because our oldest boy had the same exact story. He tried to go into the Navy, and they tested him the first time. When they tested him the second time, they sent his ass back. But he didn't get to come right back. They locked him away for a couple weeks.
Really?
Until they got, I guess when people sending other people back for basic training, they sent him back.
Well, they put me in the outgoing division, so I was like in that division for like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
it was a couple weeks. It was about 3 weeks of an outgoing division, and so all the quote unquote Navy misfits were there. So you can imagine what that was like.
Yeah. he explained it like he was locked up. I'm pretty sure he wasn't in jail, but
Yeah.
put him in there with the rest of those guys who were gonna get sent back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you're in Chicago, Illinois. You fail your drug test, and they send you back to Florida.
Yeah.
So this is when you started to hang with the wrong crowds.
Well, see, the funny thing about it, I always hung with the wrong crowds.
Okay.
It was just, but it was, even though I hung with the wrong crowd, I went to work. I always did what I had to do. But
Okay.
it was that, like I said, the other side of me.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's funny you saying this. I got the name. I had two-face because I always had it was this side
Mm-hmm.
and that side.
I think we all carried that. I think we all.
Mine was a
carried
little extreme.
that. Yeah.
Mine was kind of, it was a little bit to the extreme.
Okay.
I can recall a time, me and my friend, we had did something. I ended up getting an altercation with somebody. And so we were trying to get back to the house. And a lot of my coaches were in law enforcement. And my father's friends were in law enforcement. So we come down, we see a roadblock. Oh, shoot. So guy pulls, hey, boy, how you doing? It was my daddy friend. Hey, boy, what you guys doing? I said, nah, we just coming from over on the other side out here. But, hey, boy, man, get from around here. Some fool around there, shot something up around there. Man, you better get from around. Go on to the house, boy. Not knowing.
That was you guys.
He would look right in the back. He would have saw the gun in the back seat. But it was like, man, but that was, but he knew me as being, that was Ray Howard's son. Good dude,
Right.
But you'll know the other side. That was kind of foolish.
That's right. That's right. Okay. For the young ones who are, what kind of stuff were you into that kind of led down the road we're about to talk about?
I wasn't a drug. I wouldn't say I dabbled in drugs as far as trying to sell it, and I look at it now. Well, back then, initially, so people know understand, you're not selling drugs. You're peddling drugs. There's a difference between selling and peddling.
Okay.
You peddle fruit. I mean, you sell stock. I mean,
Right.
So you're peddling. You're selling. You out there. You're making $1 or $2 just to buy you something to eat.
Right.
You're not making any real progress. So you're out there just for say I'm out here, and you look at it in the long run, the money you spend, wasted money. It's a waste of time. The people out there, and you look at your likes, people that are right around you, they're doing the same thing. So it's comfortable. You don't feel funny doing it because everybody around you, everybody else, they're not doing anything positive. So it's you're in that comfort zone.
Right.
There's nobody there, but hey man, you shouldn't be doing this. Just like if you hang around, if you hang around a bunch of millionaires, you're gonna have that millionaire mentality.
That's right.
You hang around a bunch of losers,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have loser mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my case. And I found myself in most situations I was always the smartest person in the room. And so I find that now, different jobs I go to, and I'll find myself being the smartest person in the room, but yet still where I'm at. Like, okay, now listen, I'm the smartest person in the room, but look who's telling me what to do.
That's right.
Just his bunny brain, and I'm just he telling me what to do.
That's right.
So
You into a lot of street activities.
yes. Mm-hmm.
At one point in time, considered yourself a stick-up kid. And
Yeah, I almost smiled a little bit.
I almost smiled just a little bit.
Because it's crazy because that's where I actually enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that came from. I will tell you a short story. When I was in the 6th grade.
Right.
In sixth grade, we were walking to the store. The store's like right around the corner from the house. All night store. So we were going, let's go to the store. Nothing, just walking to the store. The guy jumped out of the car and robbed us.
Robbed you guys?
It was me, my brother, and a friend of mine, Tony. So they robbed me. Jumped out, shotguns, they put it to our head. So I'll never forget, I'm laying on the ground, the guy had his gun to the back of my head. And my brother, he was like sitting on the ground, like, leave my brother alone. So the guy, he racked the shotgun and pulled the trigger, but it didn't go off. And I'm like, this man was ready to kill me, kill my brother, because my brother was trying to protect me.
Right.
And I look back now that how things changed in my life. My attitude was totally different then. From 6th grade, that's when I started skipping school, started smoking weed. It was like my attitude just because now I don't can't pinpoint what it was, but I know that's when I can say when the change started happening. Like it's an old phrase you said, you can't look where you fall, you gotta look where you slip.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at now. Back then, that's what I can kind of pinpoint what things happen. Now with my brother, it was like I'm the little brother, but I would say the big brother. Now you better not say that to my brother because now it's like I'm very overprotective of my brother.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. For the young ones, I want to stay there a little bit.
Okay.
Teenage years,
Exactly.
you being the stick-up kid.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of elaborate on that a little bit more for them.
I would say before I was hanging with a whole bunch of older guys,
Okay.
and they were seasoned vets
Okay.
about what they did,
Mm-hmm.
and so they taught me a lot, about the streets,
Mm-hmm.
and they exposed me to a lot of stuff I saw. It was like even to this day, I get the goosebumps when I think about some of the stuff I was shown, and some of the stuff we did, and it was just a somewhat just cavalier attitude about what they were doing. It wasn't like me. I'm like, but they're like, it was just
Mm-hmm.
an everyday thing to them, and so robbing people, shooting houses up, shooting people up, seeing amounts of cocaine. Even now, I'm like, it makes me feel funny now. And here I am, almost 50 years old, recalling some of the amount of drugs I saw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, people will kill my whole family over this stuff.
Yeah.
They'll kill the air around me about this cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And just me putting myself around those people. And the funny thing about it, they wasn't just a bunch of dumb street ninjas. These dudes were, I mean, graduated from high school, some of them had college, and they had something going on with them. Some of them had trades, but they just more drawn to the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
So hang with the older guy that kind of showed you the way. You just fell in love with the lifestyle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And funny, it wasn't even about as even everything I've done, right, it was never about money. And that's the funny thing about it. It was never about, it was never like I had to rob somebody to eat.
You did it for the love of it.
It was I didn't do it because I enjoyed it.
Mm.
And maybe it was maybe it was an old power thing, but maybe at one time I was feeling powerless in my life and that gave me power. Maybe
Okay.
that could have been one of the that could have been it. But it was never about money. Because even when I got arrested, I still had money when I got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get access to it, but so it wasn't like I was out robbing, just because I'm trying to build an empire. I was just doing it because I enjoyed it.
Okay. All right. Well, after that, you end up moving to New York.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let's talk about that. Actually transitioning from Florida to New York. What made you move to New York?
Well, actually, the girlfriend of mine, she was down in Florida. I had been knowing her forever, and her mother had taken her cousins back to New York, and so that was the plan: was the mother to take the cousins to New York and come back home.
Right.
Mama get up there and decide she don't want to come back. So here's my girlfriend. She's 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now her mom just said, well, that's you. Left her the house and everything. And she's like, well, I'm supposed to take care of her. I don't know. She doesn't know. So it was in her best interest for her to move back up there with her mother. So I was like, well, I wasn't doing anything. So I decided to drive her up there, her and her son. And when I got there, it was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything. Nothing real productive at home. So I could stay up here for a little bit, because I was still contemplating trying to get back into the Navy. And, so much for that.
Right.
Like I always say, your habits follow you. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah. And
so
your habits damn sure followed
and
you.
I was like a kid in a candy store.
Right.
Oh, man.
All new faces, new
nobody
environment.
don't know me. And I'm like, man, listen. And so there I was. I mean,
Yeah, you was. And this led into what we're really here to talk about.
360 Adams, Rikers Island, all that good stuff.
That's right. Tell us about the incident and what led up to it.
Well, what led up to it, it was pretty much it was over money, and well, actually, it was well, that's the same thing, money and drugs. It was a spot that supposedly had drugs in it, you know. And I knew it was going to be a situation where they had weight up in there, and I knew it wasn't going to be like, well, just give me your money. I knew it was going to get real rough up in there. So I already had my mindset. The first person I see, I'm going to shoot him. No misunderstanding. So we're gonna establish it right now. First person I see, I'm gonna shoot him. And so when I walked into the spot with the three other dudes, I told him don't move. And he looked at me, he moved. And I shot him and I shot the other dude. And so I'm not even so now I'm like, we here. You know, we committed. Next thing I know, I hear the dudes going out the door. They go, they out the door running.
It ran?
Yeah. And I had to literally go catch up with them because they jumped the van. They were gone.
They about to leave you behind. She got a little too real for him.
Yeah, man. But I told them this is what we're gonna do. I'm not playing. And so that's the mindset I had. If I tell you this is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna do. Either you with it or you're not. And if you act up, we're gonna leave you here.
That's right.
You'll get laid right. We're gonna leave you dead right here. So don't act up. So I guess when they saw I wasn't playing, we don't want no part of that.
All right. And this led you right to Rikers Island.
Well, initially I went to Brooklyn House. Brooklyn House. I went there first for about 2 weeks. Then I went to Rikers Island, which is I don't even know where to start on Rikers Island. I would rather do 3 years upstate prison than do 6 months on Rikers Island or a year.
Right.
Hands down. Because that's one of the most corrupt places I've ever been. You know, because it's like everybody was corrupt. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably different now, but at that time it was kind of hard to. It was really no outlets because everybody's in the game. Even your officers, they're in the gang. The captains, they're in the gang. So it's like, so if I'm in a house full of, let's say, Latin kings, and so I can't say, Lieutenant, I need to move out of this house because they run by Latin kings. We're like, well, what's the problem? Because he's a Latin king. Right. So it's like,
wow.
So you're kind of in a messed up situation. It's like that whole place is just, they need to just sink it. You know, really.
So you're 21 years old at this time.
Fresh, just turned 21. I turned 21 in December, and that happened in January.
Okay.
Still a baby.
So let's talk about the mindset of getting locked up, knowing what you're facing. What's the mindset then?
The mindset, it was, I already knew I was going to prison. So it wasn't any question, well, yeah, I'm going to leave here and go home. I knew I was going to prison. It was just the point of how much time I'm going to spend in prison.
Right.
And so that was my main focus while I was in prison, going to the law library, trying to fill out motions, trying to play this little cat and mouse game with the DA. And so one day I was like, man, I'm in a law library and I'm a little bootleg Johnny Cochran. I got my little folder. We come in courtroom handcuff. I figure I'm gonna file this motion. So district attorney comes in. They say, I say, Your Honor, before we start, we're here to tell you that the offer we gave Mr. Howard no longer stands. We're now offering 25 years.
What did they offer initially?
12.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not that good at math, but I know 12 is less than 25.
That's right.
So now, see, I initially came in there, I'm trying to get my sentence reduced. So they said, well, they said, it was like, Mr. Howard, all the circumstances, he's done this, he's done that. We had one guy shot in the head, one guy shot in the chest. We have numerous weapons. I was like 33 counts. And so my bail was $250,000. Yeah, they gave me a ransom. And so They were like, he is a threat, da da da. So I'm sending like, so I'm just sending my legal aid. Whatever. That's all he was, aid. I don't know what he was doing, but I was like, well, say something. He was like, well, just let him speak. I'm like, let him speak. I'm like, say something. Like, you can't. So I was like, Your Honor, may I speak? And he was like, you can't talk. I said, shh, I can't speak. I said, Your Honor, may I speak? And so, Judge, I never get his name, was Patrick Lott. Tall, slender, black guy, older gentleman. He was like, go ahead, Mr. Howard. So I had to go in my bag of tricks. I said, Your Honor, I said, I actually came here today to take that 12 years. You know what? I'm lying like a rug, but I know I ain't trying to do 25.
That's right.
So I said, Your Honor, I came here today to take that 12 years and put my past behind me and move on with my life. I said, the DA feels like they have a stronger case right now, and so they want to take the offer off the table. They knew from day one what was going on. Nothing has really changed. So they're just trying to get a stronger conviction. I said, I feel that if I was entitled to it then and nothing has changed, from day one, I should be entitled to that right now.
Okay.
He looked at me, put his glasses down. He said, you know, Mr. Howard, you're right. Oh, the DA, she was like, Your Honor, Mr. Howard shot numerous people, da 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 da. So she went and got her supervisor, and they were like, no, it's not right. And he was like, well, you should have thought about that from day one.
That's right.
He said, Mr. Howard, if you want it, those 12 years, you can have. I said, I'll take it. Give me that.
Yeah.
And when I walked out of the courtroom, I licked my tongue like a little kid. And so that's why I ended up doing, probably because I ended up doing 8 years, because they sent a little kite along with me when I would do parole 3 times. So anyway, but either way, I was being petty.
All right. This is your first time ever being arrested, though.
First time ever in handcuffs.
First time ever being arrested, you did 8 years. You got 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do your first 6 or 7 months in Rikers Island.
Yeah.
Waiting to be shipped upstate.
Yeah. That was a whole different world. If you've never been incarcerated, that is not the place to break you in Rikers Island. You're like, man, listen, this is like, but there's such thing as the hell. It ain't too far from it. It's touching hell in the back. I tell you that. It's, man, well, at that time, it was, you run across, I mean, everybody's in jail. And literally, you run across all different types of people, races, colors, religious. You run across everybody.
It's around the same time Tupac was locked up, right?
He surely was. He was locked up. Actually, when I finally got upstate, he was actually, I got upstate at Clinton Correctional Facility, and he was in the main, and I was in the annex.
Okay. So that's when you got shipped upstate,
Yeah.
not Rikers Island.
Yeah.
Okay. So I always like to tell people about friends and the people you run with.
Okay.
And they always think that we're going to be ride or die forever. But it never turns out that way once they separate you guys and once that time is offered. What about the people you went with?
The only thing about that statement, you say that ride or die forever. Only thing that's promised on that statement is die. Everything else is optional. Because you're going to leave here.
Mm-hmm.
Ride, that's optional. But it's not an option, you're going to leave here. So, I've learned a lot of my friends, even some of the guys I got, my co-defendants I got locked up with. And I really didn't really have a good friendship with them or rapport with them, but it was like I kind of sort of know you, and we kind of have a somewhat shared interest in, So, but would I say we were friends? No. Now I look at some of my friends I have in Florida, grew up with, and me being in prison 8 years, and then coming out of prison after 8 years, and seeing they're in the same spot I left them.
What the hell? 8 years later. 8
years later, you ain't doing nothing. You still peddling drugs on the corner. And so never forget, I had a friend. He it was like 2 days before Thanksgiving. It was like 97. I spoke to him. He was like, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna send you this. I'm gonna send you that. Yeah, just make sure I get all your information. Da 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 da. I got you." I spoke to his mama. "Hey, mama, how you doing? Da 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 da. Yeah, I'm gonna got you. We're gonna take care of you. Da da." Which I was. It was like, okay, you do. Okay, it wasn't. So that was 1990, about 1997, before Thanksgiving. I think the mail was kind of slow because I still haven't got that stuff yet. Really, okay? I'm still waiting. I'm really waiting. Maybe one day it's gonna get here, but I'm still waiting
Right.
for it to get here. I ain't got it yet, so I often tease them about that. But your friends, you're gonna as you get older. When you're young, you hear a bunch of friends. He's my friend. But as you get, it's almost like a pyramid. It's wide at the base.
That's right.
When it gets to the top, it becomes
Very
narrow and
narrow.
narrow. Yeah. And so I find I only have a handful of people I could say friends, and some of those I've been friends for since Nebuary. We go way back, but it's only a handful. That's my friend. That's my friend. We don't do that.
Okay.
We don't do that.
Let's get into the co-defendant. There's 3 of you guys.
Yeah.
Did anybody tell? I guess what I'm
Of course.
asking.
Of course. Come on. Look at the ratio. I mean, somebody gonna tell. Everybody gonna keep it 100. And so one dude, I never forget. We were in the holding cell. They had a separate 4 different holding cells. So one guy, he goes and they're talking to the detective. I'm looking up. He get a boohoo cry. So, you doing a real cry, snot coming out your nose and everything. I'm like, yeah.
He go.
And I'm saying that the jig is up. It's over.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm telling him, I'm twisting myself, say, your boy ain't crying. He telling. You know what I'm saying, son? He wouldn't do that, son. Wouldn't do that, son. He gonna keep it 100, son. You know what I'm saying, son. This is son, that. Next thing you know, son is walking out the door.
Right.
Yeah, son is going to see sunlight out the door. You know what I mean? So it's like, man. So the whole thing about it, so we were like, okay, you got out. You have access to our funds. Get us a lawyer. Because even though they pretty much had us, at least we could have got less time. So if we had a paid lawyer, tell them, listen, we got X amount of funds, solicit a lawyer. His exact words, man, fuck y'all dudes. Y'all gotta handle that.
He kept all the money. Goodness.
And so we had a friend out there. We were like, well, what's up with old Eagle? He always be in such and such projects. So we were like, well, tell him we asked about him.
That's right. I got you.
So that was the last thing he heard. Anyway.
So you end up getting the time because you wouldn't tell.
Yeah. I wanted to keep it 100. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna tell my people. It's my people now.
That's right.
Yeah, but
Even though some of their people
of
advise
course,
you.
they ain't told me, listen, you know what I know. You tell them niggas going back to Florida. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. No, I wouldn't dare do that. They beat me to the punch. They already had the jig was up already. So, I'm like, man. So here I am. And I was gonna take majority away anyway because I didn't have any records. So I was like, well, I'll take it. So my whole thing was, since we're going to prison, let's try to get the same amount of time. They wasn't trying to see that. They were just trying to do them. And okay, I understand that. And for a while I was kind of bitter. I was like, you know what? Sometimes people do what they got to do to get what they need to get. And that's the only means of survival. So I had animosity for a minute, but I was like, why? I'm still doing this time. It ain't going to, by me being mad at it, it's not going to take any time back. So I'm about to do this and do what I need to do and make sure this doesn't happen again. And that was the whole key.
That's right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, so you do your 6 months, and now you're in Clinton.
Yep, I went for
Clinton Correctional Facility.
Yep, CCF, Dannemora, New York, 12929. Yeah, I still remember the zip code. Yeah.
What is that like?
Okay. First of all, you had the bus ride from downstate New York, so it took us about 6 hours to get there, and it took about 10 hours to get there. But it's really only a 5-6 hour trip, but of course they. So you're chained up. You're on a bus. You chained up with somebody else. You chained up at you have a box. You chained up like it's a chain around your waist, and you're chained up to the person next to you by the leg. So you get off the bus, and never forget it was cold. You got Sergeant Bags, big white guy, older gentleman, suspenders. It was cold out. He had there with no sleeves on. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Built different.
It was, listen,
Goodness.
so I'm like, man. So everybody else got jackets on. They out there. He out there, big red face. Can't remember your boss hog from Dukes of Hazzard, if you remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell my name. Said, gentlemen, my name is Sergeant Bag. Had a mouthful of that stuff. Gentlemen, my name is Sergeant Bag. Welcome to Clinton Correctional Facility. I got one thing to say to you only. I don't care what you do to each other. If you touch one of my guys, we're gonna kill you. Enjoy your stay.
Wow.
And guess what? He meant it, and they meant that, because you're in upstate New York. It's like maybe 30 miles from the Canadian border, and so ain't no running, at that time it was not a whole lot of people of color up there. They were lost or in prison. So, and they meant everything they said. They meant, and I've seen numerous times of guys get beat in prison by the guards. And I remember they beat one guy one time, and they beat him so brutally. When they drug him away, they beat him, and when they drug him away by his feet, he had long dreads. And it was like somebody, you take a mop and drag it across the floor, you see water.
Right.
That was blood coming from his head.
Man.
And they listen, and they wasn't trying to rush. They was casually walking, dragging him by his feet. And that was like, it was like sobering, like, you boys ain't playing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you do 2 months, and they end up sending you back to Rikers Island, though.
Well, actually, no. It was I stayed there for a minute. Then they sent me to a medium, and then I was there 2 months. Then they sent me back to Rikers Island. I'm like, my goodness. So they wake me up 4 o'clock in the morning and say, you got to go to court. Court? Who? For what? Who? Me? Court?
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. My co-defendant's still down there. I'm like, oh. And the thing about it, they didn't say, well, you know, because there's times they'll tell you, well, just you going down to court, you coming right back. They would like pack all your stuff up, everything. So that means I ain't coming back. And I was like counting into you. So now I'm thinking, oh hell. Get there, do the 10-hour bus ride down there. Stay in the bullpen for about 3 days, about a day and a half. Finally get a chance to talk to the officer, see what's going on. He was like, well, yeah, you know, he said he finally got my paper. He said, yeah, you say you know, co-defendant wants you to testify. I'm like, huh? He wants you to say he wants you to testify in his behalf. Oh, you can send me back upstate. Oh, well, we can go right now. You put me on the bus right now.
So it got told on you, and then wanted your help.
So to say he wasn't there. Oh no. So then, but in the process of me doing that, I would have to take back my plea. Oh no.
Hell no.
You do what you got to do. Ride out.
So I would like to, you mentioned the bullpen, for those who don't know.
Okay.
Explain what that bullpen is.
The bullpen is a big cell. Probably let's say the cell I was in, it was designed for maybe 15 people, but you may have 40 people in there. It was just benches and a toilet. And that's where when people come right off the street, and that's where you throw in that bullpen. And you wait, you sit there and wait to get processed. However long it takes. It may take an hour, which is rare. It may take 10 hours. It may wait till the 3 shifts go by and then get you processed. It's the availability of beds.
That's right.
So you're in there with everybody from the street. You got guys who are sick, you know, from being on dope. They're throwing up. I mean, you got homeless people in there. You name it, that's what's in there. And so people sleep on the floor. It's like, it was almost like a, if you ever seen the pictures of slave ships, how he lined the slaves up,
Yeah.
people were packed in there like that, sleeping on the floor.
That's got to be a form of hell.
Yeah, like I said, it's touching in the back. It ain't too far from it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. So this is when spend about a month there, I think.
Yeah, I actually spent a month there. And actually, when I finally got my bed, they were taking me to my room. Well, they finally got to a housing unit, and I'm tired. I'm dejected. I'm like, man, I just want to just get in this cell and just finally, I guess, rest. In the process of me walking past one of the cells, I saw the Spanish guy. He was in there hanging from the ceiling, and he was like still like he was on his way out. And so I told the CO to crack the gate, and I went in and grabbed his legs and. Finally, other officers got there and they cut him down and they told me, get out of here. And so I'm like, okay. But that did something to me. So I got in my cell, I just kind of broke down. You know, that was like, man, that really, I was like, man, I done hit my rock bottom. I felt that was my rock bottom. Because I'm in this cell, I'm sitting on the bed, I'm steady moving because I'm fighting off roaches on me. I'm like, you know, I'm like sitting there crying. And I stood up and I was like looking out the window, wherever it was. And the bathroom was like, the sink was right there. And I kind of glanced at myself and I'm slumped over it. I'm like just dejected. I'm like death worn over. And I looked at myself, had to straighten myself up. I said, no. Yeah. So I had to straighten myself up. That was my low point. And it was the saying, you know, in the bottom of when you hit bottom, there's a trap door. You just gotta be able to find it. And when I saw myself in the mirror and saw how bad I was and the state of mind I was emotionally, physically, spiritually, I was like, I picked myself up and straightened my back up and picked my head up. That was my trap door. And I've seen some rough times, you know, since then. But I've always managed to pick, you know, it might knock you down, but I'm gonna get back up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So at one point in time, you were locked up where there was some youth.
Oh.
That's not Rikers Island, though, right?
Yeah, that was Rikers Island. Yeah, of course.
So what age do they take them in at Rikers Island?
I don't know. I think they get them out the crib. I don't know. Listen, these little rascals, man. I don't know where they get these little. Listen, they were teens,
Right.
and they were just. It's hard to explain them. They would do anything to anybody. They would actually play racer tag. You know, you play tag, you're it. They do it right. Tag, you're it.
And that's a game they play.
It's a game. It's a game they play. But I don't know if they still do it now. It wouldn't surprise me. But even the officers, they had no respect for the officers. And a lot of officers, they couldn't stand them. You know, women officers, they would do anything. They didn't care say what they do in front of the women. Women had to be careful even walking by their cells for various reasons. It was like, man, it was like they were just them little rascals. Man, oh my goodness. So they were a force to be reckoned with. And sometimes the only thing they understood was force.
Yeah. Razor tag. I get it in my head. Who the hell comes up with that? You know?
Little 14-year-old kids who had nothing else to do.
So there actually was a time to where you actually almost got set up by these little jokers, though.
Yeah, them little. And they just, we got into it in the mess hall, and I was with an older Muslim dude. He was like, I'm ready to split one of the head open. I figured he only about 107 pounds. I could beat him and 10 other ones with him. But me, full focus, him not realizing this, they done formed a Voltron behind me, and it's like, man, they about to tear my ass up. So the guy he was like, man, just chill out. So my mind, he's been to prison before. He knows.
Mm-hmm.
He's a vet. I'm like, man, listen, I'm ready to get them all. He's like, nah, just chill. But when we finally got out of there, he told me that, listen, you didn't even, so he kind of was barking on me, like, you didn't even know what was going on in there. See, man, you would have died in there. And so I'm like, oh, so
You were just focused on what was in front of you.
I'm about to tear your little ass up now, man.
Yeah.
So, but we knew and understood that was something that had to be dealt with because I knew I wouldn't be able to go anywhere in that facility safely until that was taken care of. So eventually, over the course of a few days, it was taken care of, and so that issue was eliminated.
Right. So you guys end up having to make what you call a banger.
A Glock.
Explain to the people who don't know what that
Glock is a piece of fiberglass, a piece of plastic, fiber, whatever. And a Glock is it's a sharp piece of plastic, and you wrap tape around it and make a handle. And the purpose of that is when you go through a metal detector, it won't go off.
Right, because fiberglass.
Exactly. So that's your Glock.
Right. So, how long before you make it back upstate?
It was about a month, maybe about 5 weeks.
Okay.
I finally get back up. And we'll tell you another story. When I was down there, we had an old TV, old big back TV. It was just in the day room, and so you could only hear. It was real. You couldn't get any picture, but you just hear the sound. So I never get. Football game was on. It was on a Saturday, and I'm listening to. It was Notre Dame playing. I forgot who they were playing. So I'm just, I'm watching dudes play chess, but I'm listening to the game also. I hear, Archie Denson on the carry. I'm like, who? So the name, I was hearing it, but I wasn't hearing it. Archie Denson. And so I'm like, so they say Archie Denson, he's out of Fort Lauderdale. And I'm like, wow, that was my little buddy. 'Cause I remember when I was in high school, he was in high school. He was like 2 years behind me.
Okay.
2-3 years behind me. So it was like he was always telling, man, listen. He went at one time. He was even thinking about switching high schools and coming to where I was. And I told him, I said, no, stay where you at. You have a better opportunity.
That's right.
And so when I heard that, it kind of, it was kind of a bittersweet moment because I'm like, man, here he is playing for Notre Dame and actually became one of their top rushers and he ended up playing, NFL for a number of years.
What's up? Let's talk about how do you pass this much time? How do you keep your mind level? And for you, that was through a lot of reading.
Definitely.
A lot of reading and studying.
Yeah, definitely. Reading it took me away from them. Being behind those walls and everything. Reading it actually even now reading can take you anywhere. Right now, reading can take you to Russia. Take you to Vietnam. It can take you to Australia. It can take you places. It can take you right out of here and put you there. So it's reading. It took me physically a lot of places. More, let's say emotionally. It helped guide me. It helped me also help me see where I was and also where I didn't want to go.
All right.
So I read everything. I was like a sponge. Everything somebody said, oh, I got a book. Let me read that.
Okay.
So I was never, well, I ain't gonna read that. Because let me read it first and see what I get out of it.
Right.
Because somewhere it might be something in there that I may be able to use.
So with that, you was able to study a lot from social studies to science, to mathematics, to religion, astrology, and
you name it. There was nothing taboo. I used to actually sit around and write down a table of elements. Just write them out. Just write out states and capitals. The Gettysburg Address. Just write it out. No reason. Just it was all knowledge. It was just I would see speeches and just read speeches and just constantly just gain knowledge. Read different books.
one of your jobs was a teacher aide.
I was a teacher's aide. Actually, I help guys help rate their reading average and help them get their GED. And funny. Me, somebody who's never been a big fan of education growing up, because it was always thrown at me.
Right.
All my family were educators. So some way involved in the school system, I was like, man, I don't know parts of school, but here I am, find myself doing the same thing in prison. So it was rewarding, seeing guys happy about just being able to read.
Right.
I mean, a grown man, just him being able to just read and finally be able to write his daughter a letter. That was like, man, and she writing him back, and it's been times I've had to people would get letters, guys would get letters, and they couldn't read, so I had to read the letters to them.
Wow.
And actually, I've been times I've written letters for guys. They'll like, well, I need, teach, I need you to help me. I mean, they calling me teach and sir. Here it is, you my daddy age. You twice my age. So, can you help me write my daughter a letter? And I'm like, well, I said, well, just tell me something about her. And I'll just write. And after I write, I read it to him. He's like, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good work.
There's been just so many guys that remember these stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I met some good dudes. Met some really good dudes.
Right. So let's talk about the parole.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process of that?
Well, for me, since I wasn't going to be paroled to New York, so I was going back to Florida. So it was an interstate compact. So I was going to get paroled directly back to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I finally got released on January 22nd, 2003, I went to the airport and flew right back to Florida. Otherwise, if I wouldn't have had a reading residence or if I wouldn't have had it established, I would have had to stay in New York until then get it established, then transfer. So I went ahead and got that out, did that months in advance. So it wasn't going to be any hiccups when I finally got out.
How many times did you have to see the parole board before you?
3.
3 times.
3 times. They were like,
But it was certain times that you saw other people go home that you felt like would never go home.
Of course, and it was one guy. I mean, he was. I just say his name was Jackson. He, I mean, the 11 years he spent there, he spent 85% of that time in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Numerous charges, drug charges, weapons charges. I mean, he just had he had a cornucopia of stuff. He just went to. I mean, it was never. He spent most of his time locked up. So when he finally went to parole board, he just knew he wasn't going home. He was like, hey, they go max me. I went through all these 11 years. They were like, they said he was actually a good candidate to go home. And they even mentioned the fact that he spent almost 80% of his time in the box.
Yeah.
But they felt, when all was said and done, that he was a good candidate to go home. My theory on that is, when you're a good candidate, them let him go with job security.
Job security.
You let me go, we ain't gonna see this Negro again.
Mm-hmm.
You let him go, before the ink dry on that paper, he gonna be back.
Right. Right, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So we spoke about friends not supporting.
Okay.
But you didn't allow your parents to come.
No, I didn't. It was actually 6 years before I saw my parents. I would talk to them on the phone and back and forth with letters. But I didn't want them to come see me. They were willing to come see me, but I felt like this is something I did,
mm-hmm.
and it would be unfair for me to inconvenience anybody else for what I did. So I was like, nah, mama, don't come see me. I'm good. I'm okay. I'm okay. But I was, and so they would have to fly to New York, then do the 8 hour, then almost do the 8 hour bus ride up there to see me. It was too much, but they finally came up when I was transferred over to the Rochester, New York area. Mm-hmm. So I was on maybe an hour from Rochester. So they flew into Rochester. So it was, things have worked out for the best towards the end.
So you end up getting diagnosed with cancer in 2001. That's when you finally allowed them to come.
It was in June of 2001.
Talk about that experience, being locked up, and now you got this life-threatening disease.
It was, anytime anybody you hear the word cancer, it's like home. Mm-hmm. So imagine being 20-something years old until you got cancer. Like, whoa, that's even like a whoa. So I had it set in my mind, which I said before, that we're all gonna leave here. I don't care what you have or what you don't have. We all gonna leave here.
One way or another.
I'm trying to tell you. So my thing, I said, well, I ain't gonna leave here because of cancer. So initially, I already had in my mind, I'm gonna fight this, and we gonna go to war. You have to shoot me one for this. We got to, hey, you have to shoot me a fair one for this. I ain't going down. I'm too young. I'm not doing it. And the thing about it, I have a history of cancer in my family.
Right.
And so my grandmother died. She was like 52. She died of cancer. So I'm like, I know I'm not doing it. And I said, I refuse to die here. They can put me in a box and throw me in a hole somewhere. That ain't happening. So I said, well, nah, that ain't happening. So that was, but I had to dig deep. And even, I found myself talking, sometimes I get depressed. I'm like, nah, when I find myself getting depressed, I go work out. I go play basketball. I never just sat in the bed, sat in my cell and moped and put a blanket around me and sip hot cocoa and shit. You sit to watch a Lifetime like it's over. I know I got to get up. Listen, I got to get up. I got to keep it moving. So I said, I'd rather burn out than just fade away.
How long did it take you to beat it?
Actually, through radiation, everything, when it was all said and done, it was about 6 months.
That's 6 months?
Yeah.
I want to say congratulations on that, brother. That's huge.
Yeah.
I also have a family history of cancer, and it's taken out a lot of people that I love.
Yeah.
So I know how hard it is. Well, not personally, but I saw the struggles of it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, so I congratulate you on that right there,
most definitely.
winning that battle. Okay, so let's talk about you getting out. What year did you finally?
It was January 22nd, 2003.
What was that like stepping out of prison?
It was scary.
Scary.
Initially when I got it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm out free, yeah. But then the sun started going down. Like, whoa. I wasn't used to being out at night. And it's like, I'm standing in front of my house, I'm like, whoa, the sun going down, it's getting late. Yeah, it wasn't about 4:30, 5 o'clock, but it's like the sun is, I'm like, whoa. Because I had been so conditioned of being inside. And so I actually felt like I was doing something wrong because I wasn't in place. And so I'm actually thinking about my bed back in prison, like damn, my locker and everything. And I'm like, man, it's almost thinking like, man, I need to go back. I was in my mind because that's for so many years that was ingrained in my mind. You better be in place. And so here I am out of place. And so I just went in my room and I closed the door and I was good. I went in my bedroom and I hadn't cut the TV on and anything. It was kind of like sitting on the side of the bed and just with my lamp on, just like, okay. I
Felt comfortable.
Yeah, I was comfortable. But it took a while for me to adjust to being, back in society, being around people, being in the mall and people just like, I'm like, I had to put it back against the wall, like, whoa. Right. I wasn't used to that. Even to the point I was walking around with a knife in my pocket. Because I was just so, and I did it just unconscious. I grabbed a knife and just put it in my pocket. Unconscious, just did that. And it was just so used to being in an environment where, maybe not all the time, but I like being in definitely Clinton and other jails, you had it. It was like, because you never know when something's going to pop off. You're in an environment where you go in the yard and you could just, there's so much tension. It's like a buzz. It's like, it's crazy.
How long did it take you to actually settle back in and get comfortable and relax?
I want to say it took I'm going to say about a month.
About a month.
For me to kind of, okay, I'm home. And they're not coming back to get me. I'm not going, and then, me working and everything. So it definitely helped me. I was working and everything. So about a month for me to just kind of, that prison state of mind. And right. And even with that, it was still, and still is, in me. So I see some of the things I do and say right now, It's like, oh, that's that prison bullshit. So I kind of be mindful of that.
Right. So did you do any therapy afterwards?
Afterwards, no, I didn't because I like once I got out, I was so focused on. I was actually real anxious to get out. Crazy as it may sound, I was actually anxious to get out and pay bills.
You wanted to pay bills.
I wanted to pay bills. I wanted to be productive. I was looking forward to getting out there, getting a job, and
Hmm.
having a bill in my name. I was just I was looking forward to actually doing that because I had never done that. I had never even used a cell phone, so that was like a big step getting us like, whoa, okay, how you use this? I've seen them, of course, I've seen them on TV, but I never had a chance to actually use one. So it was a lot of new things for me. It was like, wow, everything was just so new. And a lot of guys, a lot of little younger guys I knew coming up, I come home now, like, hey man, what's going on? I'm looking like, who is that? I don't know who you are.
Hmm.
I mean, oh, I'm such and such. I'm like, little brother, you bigger than me now. It's like, wow. And it's like, it was a sobering reality. I'm like, man, I was going for a little while, you know. Man. And me walking in, my heart was never get. She was at work, and I went to see her, and I walked in on her, and she was just sitting at the desk, and she was like, "Can I help you?"
She had no idea who you
I
were.
had no idea who I was.
Wow.
I said, yeah. I said, yes, you can. I said, I'm looking for. I said her name, and she was like, boy, just jumped up and hugged me. She didn't realize who I was. I didn't think I had changed that much, but I guess she didn't expect me, to see me to be standing there in front of her. So it was okay.
Okay. If you had anything that you want to share with the youth to keep them from going down that road, and for the ones who may be getting out, what advice?
Now for the ones who, for the youth,
Hmm.
you're not going to be young forever, and one day you go, God willing, you're gonna get old. God willing, you're gonna see a whole bunch of birthdays, and you're gonna get old, and you want to be able to look back and say, well, what did I accomplish? What, and look at the big picture. What have I done?
Hmm.
You don't want to spend your life behind bars. That's a lot of guys now I know and never getting out. They got till never wear it,
Right.
and they never. I mean, and you got guys got locked up when they're 19, 20 years old. Here they're 35, 40 years old, and they're 50,
Right.
and it's no chance of them going home. And so that's a sober reality when somebody tell you you're never going home.
Right.
And that's what they're doing now to us. They're putting us away forever.
Remind me of a quote that you said. You met a lot of good men that make bad mistakes, but there's some mistakes you don't get a second chance from.
It was a blessing that I was able to get a second chance.
Hmm.
But it was a lot of guys in there. I mean, good men. Good. I mean, give you the shirt off their back. But that's as far as it's gonna go because they'll never have a chance to go out and show society. Guess what? I'm a good man. I made a mistake
Mm.
because society doesn't care about that. You're gonna do something. We're gonna put you away for the rest of your life, and we're gonna be done with you.
Yeah.
And so now you taking another man off the street. You taking a father off the street, and they don't care nothing about that. And so if they don't care, you gotta care.
That's right.
And we young. You think you're gonna live forever. You bulletproof. Then reality set in as we get older. And it's like it's if you don't want to. We all gonna have some type of regrets in life. I don't care what you do,
Hmm.
but I found that you want to have when it's all said and done, you want to have less as possible.
Yeah.
You don't want to have a whole list. Let me have a little list. I mean, all stuff. Regrets. I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that.
Right. And for the advice for the ones who probably already made the mistakes and now they're getting a second chance, what advice would you
Don't
have for them?
forget. 'Cause I see a lot of men they get out and forget all those nights you were in that cell, all the nights you were away from your family, how you made mama feel, how you made wifey feel, how your kids felt, how that made you feel.
Mm.
Don't forget, because it's easy to get out and forget. You get out in the streets, everything going on, and you forget the things you had to go through. You forget the people you had to deal with. Don't forget. Like I say, don't never forget the bridge that brought you over. You got to remember, and it's not like you trying to. You have to constantly keep that in your mind. For me, that's what I. For me, I'm gonna use the I statement. What I did, I constantly kept that in my mind of all the things I didn't like, of all the things I missed. And I think about now, it's even a situation when I got out of jail. I thought about somebody did something to me. And I said to myself, huh. Well, man, because I know what I would like to do to her, but I also know how my mama felt. I know what it felt like, for somebody to tell me to go to sleep at night, when to wake up, or just abuse you to the sense of emotionally abuse you, and nothing you can do about it. So that was greater than what he did to me.
That's right.
I could let that slide.
Yeah.
That ain't nothing. You got that.
You may not get the third chance.
No. And they go, it's over, party over.
That's right.
So,
hey, brother, I appreciate you, man. It's been one hell of a conversation, man.
Listen, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate y'all. I really do.
Yeah, I just know for a fact that there's some young guys out there that's gonna hear this story, man. It's really gonna help.
Oh, that's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
That's my job.
That's your job. You feel like your job is to be a good man.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Right. As long as you have that mind state, brother, you're gonna be great at everything that you do.
Once again, that's what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up again. Everybody who's listening to the sound of my voice, thank you for listening. This is Studio 125, Multimedia Complex.
Okay.
Peace.